When Grandpa called to say he couldn't wait to see me pull up in the car he gave me, I lied and told him I didn't have a license yet. That wasn't true. I'd had my license for almost 6 years, but the car wasn't mine. Not really, not anymore. He sounded so proud over the phone, just like he had when he handed me the keys last summer. Graduating medical tech in a pandemic, Cynthia, that's grit. I want you to have something solid. You earned it. It was a used 2012 Subaru Outback solid mileage, well kept. He'd even left a note inside the glove box written in shaky ink, so you can go wherever you want, on your own terms. I thanked him through tears that day. But the next morning, Mom Linda Whitman told me the registration would have to wait until we figured out the insurance. That turned into needing repairs, then emissions, then some DMV backlog. Then silence. For months, every time I asked about the car, I got deflection. "We're just keeping it safe," she'd say. "It's not going anywhere," my dad, Frank Whitman, added once, never looking up from his tablet. Eventually, the car disappeared from their driveway. When I visited unannounced, it wasn't there, and neither of them brought it up again. I stopped pushing. I told myself I was being ungrateful, that maybe they were right, maybe I wasn't ready to handle more responsibility. I was living with a roommate doing temp jobs in Seattle while applying to every hospital within 30 miles. I could barely afford groceries, let alone car insurance. But when Walter Whitman, my grandfather, invited the whole family to his house for Father's Day, said he was firing up the old grill making his signature peach cobbler and couldn't wait to see his girl behind the wheel, I knew I couldn't avoid it anymore. I hadn't been back there in over a year. Not since graduation. Not since I saw my name on the title he signed. "Will Linda be there?" I asked quietly. He chuckled. "Of course, everyone's coming. It's not a Whitman barbecue if someone doesn't bring potato salad no one touches." I agreed to come, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to see the car again. I needed to know if I'd imagined it all, if I'd made something small into something bigger out of stubborn pride. I needed something real to hold on to. So I took the bus across town, brought a store-bought pie, and wore the same sundress I graduated in. When I got to Grandpa's place, the smell of charcoal and sweet corn hit me like a memory I hadn't earned. He was there on the porch, waving his dog Jasper at his feet. "Cynthia," he called. "There she is." He didn't ask where the car was. Not yet. I stepped onto the grass, waved back, and tried not to look at the driveway. I didn't want to know if it was parked there. Not yet. We were halfway through grilled chicken and corn on the cob when Grandpa raised his lemonade like a glass of champagne and said loud enough for the whole backyard to hear, "Glad to see you here, Cynthia. And I hope the car's treating you well. That thing should last you a decade if you take care of it." The table paused. A few cousins looked up mid-bite. Someone laughed politely, but I didn't laugh. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might be sick. I looked down at my plate like it might offer me a script, but there were no lines for this part. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. The lie came quickly, just not from me. Mom, sitting across the table in a coral linen blouse, dabbed the corner of her lips with a napkin and smiled. "Oh, Dad, that's sweet." She decided not to keep it after all. Said it was too much to manage while job hunting. "We've just been using it for errands in the meantime. No harm done." Her voice was syrupy, just the right amount of self-deprecating, like she was doing me a favor by explaining my absence. She looked around like she'd just solved a small misunderstanding. I blinked at her. That voice had soothed me as a child explained away bad dreams and teenage disappointments. Now it made my skin crawl. Grandpa seemed puzzled but not concerned. He nodded, taking a sip. "Well, long as someone's using it." I couldn't speak. I wasn't sure what would come out if I did. No one else seemed bothered. No one looked my way. The air buzzed with the sound of cicadas' forks scraping paper plates and a dog barking across the fence. Just background noise to a moment that cracked something open inside me. I felt 14 again, standing in the kitchen while Mom smoothed over something I didn't do with that same tone, the one that always made adults believe her first. I pushed food around on my plate. Someone passed me another spoonful of coleslaw. I smiled, nodded, took it, but my heart was thudding. That car wasn't too much to manage. I'd asked about it dozens of times. I'd called the insurance company. They told me the policy had been placed under a new name. I tried to activate coverage, but I was told I wasn't listed on the title anymore. I'd even gone to the DMV. The clerk looked at me like I was confused. "Linda Whitman's the registered owner," she said, tapping the screen. I never told Grandpa. I didn't want to disappoint him, or worse, make him think he'd chosen the wrong person to believe in. I kept hoping it was some misunderstanding that would fix itself, but it hadn't. And now, my own mother was rewriting the story line by line in front of people who mattered, and they were nodding along. I took a breath, looked around at the table, and realized no one was coming to correct her. No one even looked surprised. Maybe they believed her. Maybe they always had. My father, Frank, sat quiet beside her, sipping his iced tea like it was any other Sunday. No eye contact. Just steady avoidance like he'd perfected it. For the rest of the meal, I went quiet too. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I wasn't ready to say it here, not yet. Not while my voice could still be twisted into something that didn't belong to me. But I was done pretending I'd forgotten. Done acting like I was the one who gave something up. After dinner, while the others started clearing plates and chatting by the grill, I walked to the far end of the yard and pulled out my phone. There, in a folder labeled Documents, was everything. The DMV letter showing the title transfer, screenshots of emails never returned, the insurance rejection, and one voice memo from 3 months ago recorded in my parents' kitchen. "Linda, that car, Cynthia, come on. You're not ready for that kind of freedom yet. Let us handle it. You'll thank us later." I stared at the file. I hadn't listened to it since I recorded it. My hands trembled slightly, but not from fear. From certainty. They hadn't just taken the car. They'd taken the story. And tonight, I was finally ready to take it back. The garage smelled like old paint and grass seed. The lights were off, but a sliver of evening sun slipped through the window, enough for me to see the shape in the far corner. There it was. The Subaru. My Subaru. It sat clean polished, even tucked behind a folding table and a stack of patio chairs, like it had never left, like it had never been taken. I walked up to it slowly, letting my hand brush the driver's side mirror. My breath caught. I opened the door, it was unlocked, and sat in the seat just long enough to close my eyes. The seat was pushed far back, too far for me. Mom always liked the extra space. I didn't cry, not then. I just sat for a moment, hands in my lap, feeling the weight of silence fill every corner of the car. This wasn't about convenience. It never had been. They hadn't taken the car because I couldn't manage it. They'd taken it because I could. And that scared them more than anything. I stood up, closed the door gently, and stepped back into the house. The back screen creaked behind me. From the den, I heard pages turning. Grandpa was in there alone, sitting in his recliner by the fireplace, flipping through one of the old family photo albums. Jasper, his beagle, lay curled on the rug. He didn't look up when I entered, just kept turning the page, pausing every now and then on a photo. I waited a second before speaking. "Grandpa." He looked over, and there it was, that same look I remembered since I was 5. Steady, warm. A look that had never once made me feel small. "Hey, kiddo. Everything all right?" I sat on the ottoman beside him. My voice came out quieter than I expected. "I think you should see something." He raised an eyebrow, closing the album. What kind of something? I took out. My phone opened the folder and handed it to him. First, the email from the DMV confirming that the title had been re-registered under Linda Whitman. Then, the letter from the insurance company. The screenshots of unanswered emails. The denial from the agency when I tried to update coverage. And finally, the voice recording. He put the phone on speaker, and we listened together. "That car, Cynthia, come on. You're not ready for that kind of freedom yet. Let us handle it. You'll thank us later." The room went still, except for the quiet hum of the old fan. Walter didn't speak for a while. He just sat there, the phone resting in his palm, eyes fixed on the wall, like it held something he hadn't wanted to see. When he finally spoke, it was barely above a whisper. "So you're telling me they lied to me, changed the title, took the car, and told you to keep quiet?" I nodded. He clenched his jaw. Not in anger, at least not the kind that explodes. It was older than that, deeper. He stood, slowly ran a hand over his head, and turned toward the doorway. "Get everyone in the living room." I looked up. Now he said, steady as stone, "We're settling this tonight." The living room still smelled like barbecue sauce and citronella. Wrapping paper and ribbon scraps from Grandpa's gag gifts were scattered under the coffee table. For a second, it could have passed as any Sunday night at Walter Whitman's. But no one was laughing now. One by one, the family filtered in cousins with sunburned shoulders, aunts balancing pie plates, and refilled sodas uncles still wearing aprons from manning the grill. The chatter died when they saw Walter standing in front of the fireplace, hands folded behind his back. Linda and Frank were the last to enter. She had reapplied her lipstick, still smiling, still playing the hostess. He looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Everything okay?" Dad Linda asked lightly, easing down beside Grandma Helen. Walter didn't answer. He just glanced at me, then gave a slight nod. I stood slowly and moved toward the center of the room. My palms were sweating, my knees weren't steady, but my voice held. "I wasn't going to say anything tonight," I began. "But since the car came up and since my mother decided to rewrite the truth in front of all of you, I think it's time you hear the real story." A few people shifted uncomfortably. Someone coughed. I pulled out my phone, opened the file, and tapped play. "That car, Cynthia, come on. You're not ready for that kind of freedom yet. Let us handle it. You'll thank us later." It was Linda's voice, clear, unapologetic. There was a pause, then a few gasps. A mug clinked hard against a table. Linda laughed too quickly. "That's taken out of context." But no one echoed her. I turned to the TV on the wall, opened the screen mirror function, and tapped through each image. The DMV confirmation that the title was no longer in my name, the email chain with my unanswered questions, the rejection from the insurance company, the photograph of the car parked in their driveway while I walked to job interviews in the rain, and last a short video I had filmed outside the DMV. This is the car my grandfather gave me. I haven't been able to drive it. I haven't even been allowed to sit in it. The title was changed, the insurance was blocked, and no one told me. Silence stretched across the room like static. I locked eyes with my mother. Her smile had vanished. "You wanted control," I said. "So you made me look irresponsible. You made me look like someone who didn't deserve what I'd earned." She blinked rapidly. Her voice, when it came, was thinner than usual. "We didn't mean harm. It was for your own good. You were overwhelmed." Walter stepped forward, eyes not leaving hers. "Context," he repeated. "You stole from your own daughter, lied to me, and then sat here tonight pretending you did it out of love." Frank cleared his throat. "We thought it was best. She's still young, don't." Walter's voice cut sharp. "Don't you dare." He turned to me. "I'm calling my lawyer first thing in the morning. That title is going back into your name, fully, legally. If I have to drive you to the courthouse myself, I will. And if either of them takes one more dime related to that vehicle, they'll answer to me." No one said a word. Linda's eyes glistened, but no tears fell. Frank stared at the rug as if it could swallow him. Across the room, someone whispered to their spouse. Another cousin shifted away from the couch where Linda sat. Walter wasn't finished. He looked out across the room at everyone. "Let this be clear, I love my family. But I will not confuse silence with weakness. This young woman has worked, scraped, and carried more than most of you know, and all she asked for was a way to get where she needed to go. I gave her that, and what some of you did, what you allowed, was try to take it away." He paused, then turned to me again. "You didn't let them, and I'm proud of you." The living room emptied slowly like a storm receding without apology. Paper plates scraped into trash bags, chairs folded and stacked against the wall. No one said goodbye to me. A few avoided my eyes. Most avoided his. Linda didn't speak again. She stood stiffly, gathered her purse and sweater, and walked out to the car, my car, without looking back. Frank followed behind her, quiet as ever. Neither one of them said goodnight to Grandpa, and for once, Grandpa didn't say it back. I stayed behind, still sitting near the fireplace. The house was quiet, except for the low hum of the ceiling fan and the tick of the grandfather clock Walter had fixed more times than anyone could count. He lowered himself into the recliner beside me. For a while, we didn't speak. I never wanted it to come out like that, I said softly. It needed to, he answered. Sometimes the truth waits, but eventually it has to come out where everyone can see it. I looked over at him. He wasn't angry, just tired in a way I hadn't seen before. I thought maybe if I stayed quiet, they'd come around, give it back, apologize. They weren't planning to. He said it like a fact, not cruel, just clear. Then he looked straight at me. You did the right thing. You kept your dignity. And when it counted, you told the truth. That car was just a thing. But what they did, what they tried to erase, that was your voice. I didn't know what to say to that. I'd spent months blaming myself for not being louder, for not fighting harder. But now sitting here, I realized I had waited not out of weakness, but because I still hoped they'd choose right without being forced. You know, Grandpa added, reaching into his shirt pocket, I kept the original paperwork. Just in case. He pulled out a folded envelope worn soft at the corners. Inside was the original bill of sale signed by him with my name still on it. We'll take this to the DMV first thing Monday. Together. I took the paper, gently holding it like something fragile. Thank you. He smiled, not the proud grin from the barbecue, but something quieter, wiser. You didn't ask for a fight. You just wanted what was already yours. That's not selfish. That's fair. That's when I understood the real gift wasn't the car. It was that someone in my family finally saw me as capable and didn't need me to prove it twice. The Department of Licensing was quieter than I expected. A few people sat slumped in plastic chairs waiting for their numbers to be called. Somewhere in the background, a baby cried, and someone's Bluetooth speaker buzzed faintly. Grandpa stood beside me at the counter, arms folded across his chest, his expression unreadable. He had insisted on wearing a button-down, and slacks said government offices still deserved respect, even if the lines didn't. You've got everything he asked. I nodded, holding the manila folder close to my chest. Inside was the bill of sale, the title, the insurance denial, and his letter confirming the gift. I had gone over every page the night before twice. The clerk at the counter was young, barely out of high school. She skimmed the documents, eyes darting between the names. So, we're reassigning this vehicle to Ms. Cynthia Whitman, correct? Grandpa said before I could answer. She asked for signatures. I handed over my ID. Grandpa signed the affidavit. I did too. And just like that, my name was back where it belonged. The new title would come in the mail within 2 weeks. That's it? I asked, almost surprised. Sometimes things don't need to be dramatic, he said. Just done. We walked back to his truck. He held the door open for me like he always did when I was little. This time, I didn't argue. Afterward, we stopped at a diner down the road. Formica tables, cracked vinyl booths, the smell of bacon and burnt coffee baked into the walls. He ordered black coffee and eggs over easy. I got pancakes and orange juice, though I barely touched them. For the first few minutes, we didn't talk. Then, he reached across the table and set the folded gift note between us. The one that had been in the glove box. I held on to this too, he said. Didn't feel right until today. I opened it slowly. Same handwriting, same words. So you can go wherever you want, on your own terms. This time I believed it. The keys felt different in my hand this time. I didn't rush. I slid into the driver's seat, adjusted the mirrors, ran my hand once across the steering wheel. The seat was back in the right place now. I didn't have to ask anyone's permission to move it. The garage door opened slow with that familiar metal groan. Sunlight spilled in, touching the hood like it recognized me again. I started the engine. It turned over on the first try, steady and warm. I didn't call anyone, didn't take a picture, didn't send an update. There was no announcement to make, no one I needed to prove anything to. I just backed out of the driveway, rolled down the window, and let the wind touch my face. The neighborhood looked the same, mowed lawns, dogs barking, someone grilling 2 houses down, but I wasn't the same girl who stood outside this car for months, wondering what she'd done wrong. I turned onto the main road, took the long way home. No destination, just motion. just the hum beneath me that said, "This is yours." I didn't blast music. I didn't cry. I didn't rehearse what I'd say if someone asked what happened, because no one needed to ask. Somewhere between the second light and the curve past the old church, I exhaled. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't a win. It wasn't even closure. It was something quieter, something like return. No apology, no ceremony, just the keys.
The restaurant's private dining room was full of Mom's friends, 50 people celebrating her 60th birthday. I'd arrived on time, brought a gift, and planned to stay for an hour before the pain in my joints became unbearable. I was sitting quietly at a corner table when Mom stood up to give her toast. She'd had 2 glasses of wine. Her face was flushed, her voice carrying across the room. "I want to thank everyone for coming," she said, raising her glass. 60 years old and still going strong, unlike some people who complain about being tired at 32. She looked directly at me. Several guests followed her gaze. "Still playing sick for attention," she said, and people laughed. "My daughter has been in pain for 5 years now. Funny how it never stops her from going to work, but somehow she can't help with family events." More laughter. My aunt nodded knowingly. My cousin smirked. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket but ignored it, keeping my face neutral. "Doctors can't find anything wrong," Mom continued, "because there's nothing wrong. It's all in her head. But try telling her that." The room erupted in sympathetic murmurs and knowing glances in my direction. I pulled out my phone. The notification was from the patient portal, lab results available. I opened the app while Mom continued her speech about how hard it was to have a dramatic daughter. The results loaded: complete blood panel, inflammatory markers, autoimmune screening. All the tests my rheumatologist had ordered last month after 5 years of symptoms without a clear diagnosis. The words jumped out at me: elevated ANA, positive anti-GNA antibodies. Markers consistent with systemic lupus erythematosus. Refer to rheumatology for treatment plan. Lupus. After 5 years of being told I was fine, that it was stress, that I needed to exercise more, try yoga, think positive thoughts. After 5 years of pain so severe some days I couldn't grip a pen. After 5 years of my mother telling everyone I was faking, I finally had an actual diagnosis. A real, documented autoimmune disease. I looked up. Mom was still talking, saying something about how young people today don't know what real hardship is. I stood up. The movement caught her attention. She paused mid-sentence. "Funny," I said, my voice carrying across the quiet room. "The doctors just confirmed who's really sick in this family." I picked up my purse and walked out. The call started an hour later. My sister first, then my father, then my brother. I didn't answer. I was sitting in my rheumatologist's office, squeezing in an emergency appointment to discuss the results. "Lupus explains everything," Dr. Martinez said, showing me the test results on her computer screen. "The joint pain, the fatigue, the flares that come and go. You weren't imagining it. This is a real serious autoimmune condition." "What's the treatment?" "We'll start with hydroxychloroquine, possibly add an immunosuppressant depending on how you respond. We need to monitor your kidney function closely, as lupus can affect the kidneys. You'll need regular blood work, probably every 3 months initially." I absorbed this information: a chronic illness, medication, monitoring, but also validation, proof that I wasn't crazy, that the pain was real. "Can I ask?" Dr. Martinez said carefully, "Do you have family support?" Managing a chronic condition is much easier with understanding family members. I laughed. Actually laughed. "No. My family thinks I've been faking for attention." She frowned. "That's unfortunately common with invisible illnesses. Perhaps showing them the lab results would help. Perhaps." I left with prescriptions and a stack of educational materials about lupus. Drove home, finally listened to the voicemails. My sister. "What was that dramatic exit about?" "Mom's upset. You ruined her party." My father. "Your mother is crying. You embarrassed her in front of her friends. Call her and apologize." My brother. "Really mature, making Mom's birthday about you again. Some things never change." I deleted all of them. 3 days later, my father called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered by accident. "Finally," he said, "we need to talk about your behavior at the party." "Actually, we need to talk about my lupus diagnosis." Silence. "Your what?" "Lupus." Systemic lupus erythematosus. It's an autoimmune disease. The test results came in during mom's party. That's what I was looking at on my phone while she mocked me for being sick. I don't understand. For 5 years, I've had joint pain, fatigue, and inflammation. For 5 years, I've been going to doctors trying to figure out what was wrong. For 5 years, mom has been telling everyone I'm faking. And during her birthday party, while she was literally mocking me for playing sick, I received confirmation that I have a serious chronic illness. More silence. So you actually have something. Yes, Dad. I actually have something. A documented autoimmune disease that will require lifelong treatment and monitoring. Your mother didn't know. Your mother didn't believe me. There's a difference. I told her I was sick. I told her about the symptoms. She chose to think I was lying. Well, she feels terrible now. Does she? Has she called to apologize? Pause. She's dealing with her own health issues right now. That's actually why I'm calling. Something in his tone made me sit up straighter. What health issues? She's been having some problems. Fatigue, swelling. The doctors ran some tests. Her kidney function is severely decreased. Stage 4 kidney failure. I absorbed this. Kidney failure. Stage 4 meant she was approaching end-stage renal disease, dialysis, transplant. When did she find out? 2 weeks ago. She didn't want to worry anyone until she had more information. 2 weeks before her birthday party. 2 weeks before she stood up and mocked me for being sick. She'd known she had kidney failure and still chose to publicly humiliate me. The doctors say she needs a transplant, Dad continued. We're all getting tested to see if anyone's a match. We'd like you to get tested too. No. What? I said no. I'm not getting tested. She's your mother. She needs a kidney. She's the mother who spent 5 years telling everyone I was faking illness, who mocked me at her own birthday party, who called me dramatic and attention-seeking. No, you can't be serious. She could die without a transplant. Then she should hope one of her other children is a match, or her friends who laughed along with her jokes. I'm sure one of them will help. You're really going to hold a grudge over some jokes? They weren't jokes, Dad. They were years of systematic dismissal of my real medical condition. And I'm not holding a grudge. I'm setting a boundary. I don't owe her my organ. She's family. Family doesn't humiliate each other at birthday parties. Family doesn't call their sick daughter a liar for 5 years. Find another donor. I hung up. The pressure campaign started immediately. My siblings called daily. Extended family members reached out. My mother's friends sent messages, all saying the same things. She's your mother. Family helps family. It was just jokes. She didn't mean it. You need to forgive her. How can you let her die? I blocked most of them. My mother finally called herself 2 weeks later. I answered. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I'm sorry for not believing you. I'm sorry for the things I said at my party. I was wrong. Okay. I'm sick, really sick. I need a kidney transplant. I know, Dad told me. Will you get tested? To see if you're a match? No. Please, I'm begging you. I could die without a transplant. You knew you had kidney failure before your birthday party, I said. You knew you were seriously ill, and you still stood up in front of 50 people and mocked me for being sick. Called me dramatic. Said I was faking. While you were in kidney failure and I had undiagnosed lupus. I was scared. I was dealing with my diagnosis and I lashed out. You lashed out at me, your daughter, who was actually sick, who needed support, and you chose cruelty instead. I said I'm sorry. You're sorry now that you need something from me, a kidney. But for 5 years, you weren't sorry. You were dismissive and mean, and you taught everyone around us to doubt me too. So you're going to let me die? Out of spite? I'm not letting you die. I'm choosing not to donate an organ to someone who spent years denying my illness. Those are different things. But you're a match. The preliminary tests show you're likely compatible. I went cold. What tests? The blood samples from your lupus diagnosis. Your doctor sent them to the transplant center at our request. That's a privacy violation. Your father signed a release. We're family. The doctors understood. I felt anger rising. You took my medical information without my consent? We needed to know if family members were potential matches. You're the same blood type. The initial markers look good. You're probably our best option. I didn't consent to that testing. Will you at least think about it? Please? I have lupus, Mom, an autoimmune disease. That makes me a higher risk donor. The surgery could trigger a major flare. It could worsen my condition. Did your doctors mention that? Silence. Did they tell you that taking the kidney from someone with lupus is more complicated? That my immune system is already attacking my body and major surgery could make it worse? They said there were risks, but that you could still donate. Of course they said I could still donate. They need a kidney for their patient, but did they tell you what it might cost me? You'd save my life, and potentially ruin mine. I have a chronic illness too now, remember? One you didn't believe in until you needed something from me. I'm your mother. You're the woman who laughed at me for being sick. Find another donor. I ended the call. My rheumatologist called the next day. I received a request from a transplant center for your records. Did you consent to organ donation testing? No. My mother's doctors took my blood work without my permission. That's concerning. I've denied the request and filed a complaint. For the record, I would not recommend you as a kidney donor given your lupus diagnosis. The surgery and recovery could trigger a serious flare. The immunosuppressants after donation could complicate your lupus treatment. This is not a good medical decision for you. Thank you. I'm documenting this in your chart. If anyone pressures you, refer them to me. The family pressure intensified. My father showed up at my apartment. My siblings sent long emails about family obligation. My mother's friends left voicemails about forgiveness and compassion. I didn't budge. My mother started dialysis 3 weeks later, 3 times a week, 4 hours at a time. She was placed on the transplant waiting list, but the wait time for a deceased donor kidney was 3 to 5 years. My brother turned out to be incompatible, wrong blood type. My sister had high blood pressure that disqualified her. My father was too old and had diabetes. None of Mom's friends volunteered. 6 weeks after the birthday party, I received a letter from my mother, actually mailed to my apartment. I know I hurt you. I know I was wrong about your illness. I'm sorry. I'm learning what it's like to be sick now, to have people not understand, to feel your body failing. I understand now why my words hurt you so much. But I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for your kidney because I'm your mother and I want to live. I'm asking you to be the bigger person, to save my life even though I didn't believe in your pain. Please. I read the letter 3 times. Then I wrote a response. Mom, you say you understand now what it's like to be sick, but you don't, because everyone believes you're sick. Everyone is sympathetic. Everyone is trying to help you. I was sick for 5 years, and you told everyone I was lying. You made me doubt myself. You isolated me from family support when I needed it most. You're asking me to be the bigger person, to give you a kidney despite how you treated me. But being the bigger person doesn't mean sacrificing my health for yours. I have lupus. Donating a kidney puts me at risk for complications, flares, and long-term health problems. My doctor has advised against it. Medically, this is a bad decision for me. But even if it were medically safe, I would still say no. Not out of spite, not out of revenge, but because I learned from you that boundaries matter, that protecting your own health comes first, that you're not obligated to sacrifice yourself for people who don't respect you. You taught me those lessons through your actions. I'm just applying them now. I hope you find a donor. I hope you survive, but it won't be my kidney. Your daughter who was sick the whole time. I mailed the letter and blocked my family's numbers. 3 months later, my cousin reached out. We've been close before all this. She was one of the few who hadn't joined the pressure campaign. Mom found a donor, she said. A friend from her church. Not a perfect match, but good enough. She's having the surgery next month. That's good. It is, but I wanted you to know that everyone's still angry at you. I know. Are you okay with that? I thought about it. About the chronic pain I'd endured while being called a liar. About the birthday party mockery. About the pressure to give up an organ to someone who denied my illness for years. Yeah, I said. I'm okay with it. I'd rather have my dignity than their approval. My mother survived the transplant. Last I heard, she's doing well, adjusting to life with anti-rejection medications and regular monitoring. I'm doing well too. The lupus medication is working. My flares are less frequent. I've built a support network of people who believe me when I say I'm in pain. Sometimes survival means choosing yourself, even when everyone tells you you're selfish for it. I chose myself, and I'd make the same choice again.